I'd next like to invite up to the podium Dr. Turki, Faisal, Rasheed.
Okay, my topic is it's quite simple. I honestly believe the most important things for any government is to provide food, to provide a bed, a house, and to provide a job. You could see here my topic is economic diversifications in the GCC. I'll go quite fast. A problem is well stated, is a problem half solved. If you know the problem, that's already you're halfway through. The transformation plan in the Gulf state is how is the public government play a major role in the diversification on the GCC. The development of the government is the involvement of the governments. These are the political institutions of the GCC, which is, I'm sure, most of you knows about it. Arab Spring 2011. A lot of people are asking why, what did happen. We think it's derailed the GCC government from their strategic capabilities. What are the challenges facing the Gulf state? It's empowerment of women, and I mean real empowerment of women, not cosmetics changes. Public finance, security challenge, government challenge, and economic challenges. And you need to measure the government performance. I use those 6 index of measurement, and these are those index. I'm not going to read it for you. I'm sure you could read a lot better than I am. To summarize what I want to say here is the challenge being oil economy. The leaders, they understand how volatile it is. If we look at the data here, percentage of oil rent of the GDP, the only way for any country to achieve their visions or their strategies is by participation of all the stakeholders. If the stakeholders are not fully participating, there is no success on any strategies. They have to invest in the human resources, in non-oil sector, and keep the knowledge. There is a price for success, and there is a price for failure. I'm afraid we need to avoid the political decay, which is the theory's outcome leader must take into consideration the failure of the natural strategies. Thank you for your listening. If you want to know more information about myself, you could see my website there. And if you want to know more about this topic that I want to talk, I did talk about it, you could read my book. It's available in all the international outlook. Thank you.
Well, Dr. Turki, thank you very much for that presentation and walking us through. The commenter for this session is Dr. Gieth.
So these are my 3 recommendations. To conclude, 1 is dealing with education. Number 2 is the question of sovereign wealth fund. We have to pay attention to the sovereign wealth fund. It is very powerful, and we have to use it for a good cause. 3rd is Islamic finance. And I'll be available for any questions. I have lots of small brochures that I carry with me every day. Thank you very much.
We'll do as before in order to allow the speakers to add what they might have if they had another half minute. But the questions, again, are educational in and of themselves. And the speakers are free to combine them, overlap any, and ignore them or prioritize them, or even comment on the relevance of a particular question.
Dr. Turki, we'll go in the kind of order of the speaking. So the bevy of questions, please choose your passion, and if you can, for 2 minutes. Maybe if you can speak to the, continuing the theme of economic diversification that you were talking about in your presentation,
Okay.
and I think several of the questions touched on that. So maybe kind of summarize your thoughts on that challenge and opportunity moving forward in 2 minutes.
And your specialty, everybody knows, has a lot to do often with agriculture. And there were a couple of questions pertaining to that. No one else has focused on that.
Well, the one close to my heart, and that's the one I teach and I practice, which is the role of agriculture to enhance security, alleviate poverty, and promote economic growth. I do believe the best way for any country is to concentrate on agriculture, whether it is an industrial agriculture or social agriculture, to alleviate poverty and promote economic growth, especially in the rural area. I would like to bring the attention that is in 2016 or 2015, 152 countries have signed an agreement on the 17 United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And every country have to make his own visions that it has to be achieved by 2030. And the United Nations have developed some indexes to measure those kind of progress. Saudi Arabia and other countries have made their visions, which is it will complement the master plan's visions of the United Nations 17 development goals. The G20s, which is, it will take place in Saudi Arabia in November. And actually within this month, Saudi Arabia will be the president of the G20 gathering on next November. Diversifications of the economy. First, you have to define, that is, when a country is have the natural resources. A lot of people, they call it the Dutch disease. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that terms, but relying on one source of income, that make it extremely difficult for any countries to get out of this disease and to go to diversify their economy. Their society, they want a lot of income and they don't want to do any work, or hardly any. So then with that kind of attitude, how could you really get out of these subsidies? Because there is a limit. You reduce subsidies, you increase unrest. And, you know, the Middle East is already, anybody want to talk about Saudi Arabia, you have to keep three in mind. Number one, it's the Qiblat al-Muslimin. There is 1 billion people 5 times a day, they go pray there. They put the direction of Mecca. Number two, it's the central banks of the oil in the world. And number three, we are in a very extreme environment. The Arab world is 60% under the poverty line, 70% are youth, 1 million people every year, they go into the job. We need to, let's put it this way, we know the crash is coming, but we don't know when, unless we really fix the problems in the Middle East. Sure, people like to talk to you about sectarian, talk to you about war, talk to you about Iran, talk to you about all these kind of external threat. They are not a threat, they are a challenge. The real threat is unemployment, corruptions, creating jobs, creating housing, creating food for their societies.
Wow. Super. Please join me in thanking all three.